Legos, building blocks, linking logs. If you were like me, you grew up using these things to build everything that your little mind could imagine. Or you were trying to build it. Let's be honest, that castle you were constructing probably looks more like a beach whale. But regardless of how it looked, there's something about childhood that pulls us towards invention. Maybe it's due to some innate human instinct to build, but what if I told you it could also be the subtle influences from some of our favorite animated shows? Well, that's the hook. When you watch Cartoon Network shows as much as I have, you begin to see patterns, like vivid hallucinations of checkerboards, but other patterns as well. One pattern I've seen in particular is how some Cartoon Network shows have a focus on childhood ingenuity, and 3 shows display this trend perfectly: Dexter's Laboratory, Codename Kissing Store, and Ed, Edd n Eddy. So I wanted to pontificate on how these shows that are so different somehow highlight the same fundamental truth: making things is part of growing up. Let's take a look back in time, shall we?
How can I take my glorious Kidtacular Kids channel worldwide without satellites? Honestly.
In our development from child to adult, or rather child to bigger child, there are a series of stages that one goes through, sort of like Pokemon, but less cool. Among these stages is the sensory motor stage, and it happens when we are very young. And something else that takes place when those first little fireworks begin to go off on our tiny brains is what psychologists call constructive play. Constructive play is an early form of intentional play where a child is first learning to build and assemble things. Puzzles are the easiest example of this. Before, you may have been using puzzle pieces as projectiles, but after, you have this realization, oh, these fit together. These moments on the surface can seem a lot like advice from your parents, very unconstructive, but they serve an important purpose of allowing us to learn fundamental motor skills, but also problem solving, experimentation, and critical thinking. And I think it's fair to say we could use more critical thinking in the world. Some of y'all didn't play with your blocks enough. Well, Cartoon Network was very aware of constructive play and recognized its importance not only among their audience, but also the potential it had on key elements within their brand and animated shows. In fact, in 1997, they ushered in a campaign called Animate Your World, which was a public service campaign that aimed to inspire creativity in children. When people encourage creativity in others and find it in themselves, there actually can be tangible difference in daily life. Those are the words of Betty Cohen, and as the president of Cartoon Network during this time, she said the concept grew out of an examination of the question, what is it that people get out of cartoons? Cohen believed that since cartoons originated from creativity of the studios, they could also be used to inspire creativity in others, like a never-ending cycle. With the help of educators, they were able to showcase a clear line that connected animation with creativity and invention, and even partnered with outside organizations and participated in things like Cable in the Classroom by offering programs and activities for students. Those were the days, weren't they? When the teacher wheeled in the TV, things just got a little bit better.
I'm a little concerned at the importance you're placing on movies.
I use movies as one of my tools, but I also use a variety of other multimedia techniques.
Will everyone please try to find a seat?
So Cartoon Network very early on understood the role that they had in inspiring the ingenuity of the next generation and making building and creating a key part of their brand, but it is my claim that they took it a step further in ensuring it's part of their shows as well. Because whether it's a giant lab, DIY gadgets, or junkyard scams, they all are connected by their exaggerated takes of kids using their imagination to create the world around them.
My greatest work is completed!
Dexter's Laboratory is a show about a boy genius creating various inventions in his high-tech laboratory. And as one of Cartoon Network's first shows, in many ways it can be seen as a blueprint for many shows that came after it. And even another creator, Craig McCracken, said as much for his show, Powerpuff Girls. And one of the main draws to this show is the impressive scientific prowess of a little boy, as well as witnessing him using his many inventions to solve various problems in his daily life, or just doing them to test out new ideas. For Dexter's Laboratory, invention was center stage. Genndy Tartakovsky actually made an emphasis to highlight the scenes of construction with films like Evil Dead inspiring the visual style of the show. One scene of a robot arm from the film Army of Darkness served as a constant visual inspiration for the show, with Craig McCracken remembering Genndy being obsessed with recreating it. He applied that sequence to the show all the time, especially when Dexter was building stuff. Dexter's Laboratory uses visuals and knowledge that is often prescribed to adults, and not just any adults, but scientific experts, and applies them to the inventiveness of a child, sort of exploring what a kid would do if they were a genius and had an entire laboratory available to them. By carrying this theme of invention, it's not only highlighting the wonder but also the limitless potential of being a kid.
What's today's big mission?
That's on a need-to-know basis, and you don't need to know.
Okay. Whatever.
What are you looking at?
Nothing.
Now, who wouldn't want to be a member of the Kids Next Door? Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and every other number you can make on the calculator all showcase the most exaggerated state of what it feels like to be a kid, while also at times spotlighting the pains of growing up and becoming an adult, reinforcing the universal truth: being an adult sucks.
This is horrible! I forgot to bring the coffee!
But in Kids Next Door, all the things that were supposed to be make-believe or just trivial child's play were made real and cool. They literally built their imagination all the way to the moon. In Kids Next Door, everything that we see, the treehouse, clothes, shoes, gadgets, weapons, everything was built by kids. And when we analyze the show through the frame of childhood invention and ingenuity, Kids Next Door is a perfect example. If you look closely, you can see that the inventions are made of common household items or things that kids typically use. Even the processes like they have for identification or inventions like the code module utilize things that kids would do and apply further significance to it. Some people say that Kids Next Door is like Spy Kids meets Home Depot, and I can see that.
Well, I see you stumbled upon my collection of misfit failed inventions, Nosy Parker. I've archived these disasters to remind me of our misguided attempts and learn from past mistakes.
Hey, is that a volcano?
Eddie, not that old thing.
How's it work? Does something shoot out of here? Where do you plug it in?
Ed, Edd and Eddy is an interesting case for the trend of invention because with their constructions mainly being scams, they weren't really designed to work. They are more like that cool toy you bought online just to find out that it wasn't like the picture. But that's what makes it fun. This show is unique because with the main characters being 3 characters instead of 1, we can see 3 stages of the development process. Eddie with the idea, Double D with the implementation, and unfortunately for Ed, with testing. But hey, he made a good test dummy.
Like me, like me, like me, like me. Hold still, Lumpy, so I can hit ya.
And Ed, Edd and Eddy shares this in common with Kids Next Door in that their inventions introduced the idea of prototyping for kids, which is such an important thing to know when building anything new. It doesn't need to be perfect, heck, it doesn't even need to work. Ed and Eddy's charm was in the spectacular failure, but not the failure in the ideas and creativity because the kids were with it. Just, you know, going cheap on the materials never works out, especially if you're building a rocket car or a bus. Ultimately, Ed, Edd and Eddy shows the trial and error nature of invention while also showing childhood confidence behind just finding a way to make ideas happen, using whatever you have available, even if they are just scams. But I don't know, what do you think, Plank?
Blank says beats me.
All 3 shows highlight kids solving problems their way with things that they built themselves. When thinking back on what Betty Cohen said, this really can show what people get out of cartoons. Cartoons are an example of how the power of invention works and how the ability to inspire us to try new things and create the world around us. Who would have thought I'd be making a case for sticking kids back in front of the television? But hey, maybe kids need television again. And you know, dangerous times call for dangerous measures because the question isn't whether kids or adults have the ingenuity showcased in these shows. It's whether we're still willing to use it. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know what you think in the comments below and maybe go make something.
I have had it with you stupid. Oh, now look what you've done. You made me wet myself. So, who are you kids anyway? And why do you have your own satellite web?